This is part 2 of A Very Grim Hollow Christmas. If you missed last week's episode, maybe go check it out so you're all caught up with the story. But for those that are initiated, this week we learn who that little voice on the stairs belonged to. All that and more coming up right now. Hello everybody and welcome to this week's episode of the Eldritch Lorecast. My name's Ben Byrne and here as ever with Dale Kingsmill, Sean Merwin, James Hake, and we return back to the town of Landhaus where a mysterious creature is leaving not particularly wanted or nice gifts in the homes of the villagers living in Landhaus. If you weren't here last week, if you haven't heard last week's podcast, this is a part 2. So feel free to go back and listen to that earlier podcast. But if you're like, no, I'm here now, I'm going to listen to this podcast. I've made my listening decision. That's cool too. Welcome. Let me do a quick recap for you. We are playing Fate, we're playing Fate Accelerated, which is a role-playing game by Evil Hat Productions. Sorry, thank you. I was going to say Mad Hat. No, it's none of that. It is Evil Hat Productions, and we are setting our story within Landhaus, within Etheris, which is the Grim Hollow setting. And in this town, you know what? I'm going to read my poem again because I was pretty proud of that poem. Everybody else.
It's a good poem.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. We return to the town of Landhaus, where 'tis the winter solstice, and not a creature dare move, not even a barn mouse. And gripped by terror 1 year more is the entirety of the village, who have all locked their doors. The monster called the Giver thudded upon their roofs, leaving gifts in their house like rotted fish and old boots. Some found old onions and some lumps of coal, some an animal's bones or the head off a doll. And fed up with these gifts and the Giver too, the village bands together to make the monster shoo. This is where you come in, our brave heroes 3, to scare away this monster and set Landhaus free. Our 3, I'd say brave, mighty adventurers, maybe not the best descriptors, but have banded together to track down this mysterious creature leaving these macabre gifts, starting with Kallos Drake. Kallos, for those that weren't here last week, give us a quick description of your character.
Yes, I am Kallos Drake, a sorcerer who lurks at the edges of Landhaus, saved once by the people of this village and in some small way indebted to them. I gaze often into my mystic orb, seeking visions of other worlds, and all in the pursuit of improving the lives of the people of this village. So do I say, this strange hermit me.
Fantastic. Accompanying Kallos on this adventure, Eleanor Blakeney.
Yes, Eleanor Blakeney. She is a pale, skinny-looking half-elf with curly brown hair, and she is the best damn cat burglar that this town has ever seen. And she's not standing for any upstarts who are about to break into these houses and take all of the attention away from her. No, thank you.
Yeah, you're upset by the fame of the Giver over poor Eleanor. An equally felonious individual accompanying our crew is Brillo Greenback.
Absolutely. Brillo is a filthy gnome who professes to be an entertainer, but really could not be understood to actually sing a song. So he plays a banjo and would be the upstart that would be trying to break into a house to find some ill-gotten gains. But now that he has a patsy to work with, he is more than happy to let the cat burglar have her fame.
Perfect. The 3, I was going to say amigos, is that the right terminology? The 3 compatriots, maybe. The 2 burglars plus Kallos.
Miscreants.
Miscreants, there we go. I like that term. The 3 miscreants, having riled the villagers, the mobsters, the people in a mob, up against the Giver. The mobsters spread out throughout the village looking for this monster, leaving the party capable of going in and leading their own investigation investigation a little bit more cautiously, a little bit more cleverly, getting themselves in trouble with the mob momentarily. Not trouble against them so much as just letting the mob get in their way a little bit. Having a close call, a close contact with a ferocious canine that almost took Brillo's life were it not chained to its kennel, and then have finally found themselves broken into a private residence where they hope to catch the Giver. It seems like the Giver may have been here first, leaving behind the gift of a goat's heart and liver on the floor of this very homely living room. To set the scene again, this living room has a sweeping staircase which goes up to the second level of this house. It's very nicely carpeted. There's a fireplace which Brillo climbed down through to get into the house to gain access. There are socks hung from the top of the fireplace, a big sock, a slightly smaller sock, a little children's sock, and a wee little baby sock, all hung above the fireplace. Nice upholstered furniture, and these animal organs presumably left by the Giver being so out of place here. The party now wondering what their next move is, but before they could make that decision, they hear a sound on the stairs, a little bit of a creak, and a soft little voice that speaks out to them from the darkness above and says, "Are you the Giver?" And as you look up, you see the most innocent looking little boy with like just the most dead straight perfect bowl haircut, shaved, undercut beneath his haircut. His eyes, his big blue eyes, just expanding like two little pizza dishes beneath his hairline. You can see he's got a small little chin and a little button nose, and he's wearing like a little onesie that's got dinosaurs on it. His little hands, both of them are up on the polished banister, and they're not even big enough to be able to grip the entire banister. They just kind of, sit like little paws on the side of it. As he looks down at these three strangers inside his living room, and he says, "Are you here to weave me gifts? The Giver leaves gifts every year." And looks at the three of you. What would you like to do?
This kid is very cute, but I am running low on fate chips, and I need to get some back, so I'm going to compel myself, if I may, and use my trouble constantly making enemies. And I would like to turn on this small child and say, the Giver is a hack, okay? The Phantom is the best damn cat burglar that this town has ever seen, okay? You understand, the Phantom can walk through walls. The Phantom can turn invisible. The Phantom can't die because they're already a ghost, all right? And most importantly, the Phantom actually takes things from you like a proper burglar is meant to do. You got it, kid?
Okay, cool. This kid's eyes get bigger and bigger as you describe this phantom type individual. You gain a fate point for creating an enemy, and you see like his little nose scrunches up. It looks like he's frowning, but you can't see his eyebrows beneath his hairline. As you see his eyes well up, and he sort of, "But the Giver gives gifts, and I don't like you. You're stinky." And he just like runs up the stairs. Yes, go ahead.
Wait. I reach down and say, "You want a liver?"
He stops, turns back around, is sort of sniffing, and goes, "Are you the Giver?" And sort of like starts to like come back down the stairs. He can't like walk downstairs properly. He's kind of got to go like 1 foot at a time as he mantles down. He's smaller even than you, Brillo. As he comes up, he goes, "I knew the Giver would be small like me," and sort of like holds out like a little hand for the piece of meat that you have. He's like on the bottom step, kind of like reaching too far forward for it.
I'll tell you what, if you don't wake your parents up, I'll give you something else. And I reached out and give him the heart.
Oh, okay, cool.
Give him the liver and then give him the heart as well.
Okay. His little hand kind of like mushes the liver, and he actually drops it first, and it just kind of like splats on the ground, and then he bends like right over his hands on his knees as he bends down to get it. You can see that he's wearing a nappy, but the bun flap on the back of his onesie is half open. As he bends down, he picks up this slippery liver, eventually like gets it, and then looks at you and reaches out, and he goes, "He is cold," and then reaches out to get the heart. And then as he's sniffing, he kind of like looks at them and he says, "Oh, I won't wake my parents, but you said the phantom," and he's kind of looking back across at Eleanor at this point. "It sounds scary, and I think the phantom's upstairs right now.
Be afraid."
And he kind of like jumps off the bottom of the step and then runs through the house.
Child, what do you mean by the phantom is in your house right now?
He goes around the corner.
me.
He's like in the kitchen, and you just hear his little voice, and he says, "There's a scary monster upstairs, and it's walking around my parents' room."
Look, kid, you don't have to go back to bed, but you can't stay here.
Okay. You hear his little voice wafting out of
I'll
the next room.
volunteer.
Okay.
I'll come up and check to make sure everything's safe for you, child with a diaper.
You are the quiver. As he waddles back over, kind of like puts his heart, not his heart, but puts a heart, the goat's heart that he now owns, in his hand with the liver that is of has similar aspects owned by the child, in his arms, and then like goes to take your hand as you continue up the stairs.
Here, let me hold that for you. And I'll take the heart and put it in this hand and take the child's hand.
Okay, cool. It's like
Gonna
slippery.
briefly-
These are good eating.
I'm going to briefly turn to Kallos and say, not to be paranoid, but what if he is the giver?
Then fate would have done us a great service by leading us directly to him as I foresaw.
Yeah, neat. Tight.
As you proceed up the... Sorry, go ahead.
I will try to distract the child while they do their thing.
All right.
Okay, cool.
You're a better person than I.
Kallos, what would you like to do?
I shall lead the way, conveniently leaving room for the phantom, so-called, to take whatever knickknacks she can find.
Oh, yeah. I look like I'm investigating for clues, but I'm definitely pocketing anything
Okay.
silver. And yeah.
Make a sneaky check for me. This is to... Well, sorry, actually. Again, this is my 5e brain taking over. It's like, oh, you're trying to accomplish something. You need to do
I
an
was
ability
going to
check.
do a sneaky.
Well, are you trying to create an advantage, or are you trying to overcome an obstacle?
I think I'm trying to overcome an obstacle because I'm really just trying not to be noticed by Kallos while I'm taking this stuff.
Kallos, do you think you're actively watching, or you're just kind of, like you said, you're wandering out of the room?
Oh, no, I'm not watching him in a little bit.
Okay, I'm kind of wondering if you even need to make a roll at this point, Eleanor. I think you can snatch
I'm
whatever
gonna
it is that you want to.
see. Okay, great. I didn't have to make a roll. Cool. You don't need to know what I rolled in my roll that didn't exist.
All right, no, fair. Yeah. It's for another time, another dimension, another reality that Kallos may see at some point, but not this reality. Brillo, are you taking the child back upstairs?
As slowly as possible. Between the two of us, we have very short legs, so it might take us a while just to navigate the stairs.
Wait, hold
Okay.
on. Isn't the thing that the child saw in his parents' room upstairs?
Yes.
Well,
correct.
he didn't mention the Phantom until it was put into his brain by someone. So we will see if there is actually something in his parents' room as we carefully climb the stairs and then go wherever he leads me.
Okay, cool. Kallos, are you going up the stairs or were you leaving the house? You were kind of like done.
Oh yeah, I'm going up the stairs. I'm kind of slowly following up the rear.
Okay, cool. As Eleanor kind of snatches anything and everything that's not glued down, or not nailed down, inside of the living room, the two of you reach the top landing, and the little boy leads you. It's like when you get to the top, it's like a corridor that splits in two directions, and the stairs kind of come into the middle of it. You can see that there's 3 doors. Down one end is the first door, and it's like, at the very end of the hall. It's the end of the hall is the door. I don't know how else to explain it. The end of the hall is the door. The door opens or is ajar at the moment, presumably into the parents' room. You think just from your sort of understanding of general house layouts, especially being as felonious as Brillo is, you know where to go find the good stuff. The most expensive stuff. Whether it's down the other end of the hall, you suspect is where the kids' rooms are. You can see there's a door wide open down there, which is probably where this kid came from. And you can also see that there's another door there that is also ajar and has like stars and moons and things like painted on the outside of it. And the little boy kind of leads you down the corridor towards the 2 rooms, presumably towards his room as well. But the 2 of you, I would say probably Brillo first, being further up ahead, but also having slightly, I'm assuming, a passive check's a thing in this game. I don't really know. I'm going to assume having slightly higher clever, just slightly higher passive perception. You hear kind of like a shuffling sound, like someone's moving from inside the room with the stars and the moon.
I will say to the child, what's your name?
They call me Jonathan.
Okay, Jonathan. What's in the room with the stars?
That's where Twisty lives.
Twisty. Is that your sibling, brother, sister?
Twisty's my sibling.
Okay. Why are there stars painted on the door?
It used to be my room, but when Twisty came, they gave it to Twisty.
Little bastard. I hate when that happens.
Are you here to give me back my room?
Yes. Yes. Yes, that's what we will do, but is that where your parents sleep? And I'll point to the end of the hall.
Yeah, my parents are down there. Are you here to take Twisty away? Because Twisty was given by the Giver, but maybe the Phantom's coming to take Twisty.
Twisty was what now? I'm not there, but Dale's reacting.
Yes. I think we should take a look at Twisty. Does Twisty have like 10 fingers, 10 toes, and 1 head?
Begins to like count, and you hear 1, 2.
Oh, it's more important the head than the fingers and toes.
5, 11.
No, Twisty doesn't breathe fire or anything. Twisty doesn't have horns.
7,
okay.
9.
You stand there and count. I'm gonna go over here.
99.
And I'm going to peek in Twisty's room.
Okay, cool. Are you approaching, would you say, sneakily?
Oh, I will be as stealthy as I possibly can, yes.
You
Definitely
gaze into that
trying
room.
To,
I shall find the
overcome
parents.
anyone hearing me by sneaking.
Gotcha. All right. Roll. Go for the roll, and then just hold the result for a second. What was that? Sorry, Kallos. Where were you headed?
All right.
Oh, I was just saying, you gaze into that room. I shall seek out the parents' hallway.
Okay, so you're heading the opposite direction?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to approach the parents' door? It is closed at the moment. Do you have a specific approach that you want to take to getting close to it or opening it?
Something about the sort of tension of the situation leads me to believe that sneaky might be the appropriate approach.
Okay, great. Roll sneaky for me. How did you go, Brillo? What was your result?
I had a -1 on the dice. My sneaky is +3, so it ends up being a +2. I'm going to spend my next to the last fate point, my penultimate fate point, to tap the aspect of Felonious Gnome being quiet and Eustace being sneaky. So that would be a +4 total.
Okay, great. How did you go, Kallos?
-1.
Okay.
I'm going to invoke my aspect of has visions from other worlds, and I kind of have a flash of insight of myself approaching this door loudly and being instantly skewered, and take that moment to kind of rethink my approach and re-roll my dice.
Okay, sure, go for it.
Let's try this again. Okay. That's a total of 2.
Okay, gotcha. All right, as the two of you split off in two directions, Eleanor at this point kind of coming towards the top of the stairs, presumably with like pockets filled with different things. All you can hear is like the 54, 79 as you get towards the top of the top of the landing, and the gnome and the wizard split and go in opposite directions. And as you get Kallos to the parents' door, the door is closed. You place a hand upon this like curved sort of sideways latch. I don't know if door people know the technical term for that, but it's a sideways latch is what I'm going to call it. And pull the latch down and push the door in. At the same time, at the other end of the hall, Brillo, you approach the door with the stars and the moon on it, taking one step and then the other, silently upon the carpet. The camera from inside the room looks as the corner of your helmet, the corner of your tin pot hat kind of comes into view, and then your eye, and simultaneously the door creaks open in the parents' room, and the eye of Kallos looks through the crack and into the darkened room, and both of you see something quite disturbing. Kallos, upon the bed, like the foot of the bed, you can see that before I get to the foot of the bed, wait till you hear what's in the rest of the bed. 2 parents, one on each side of the bed. You see their shapes, beneath the covers, beneath the furs, if you will, because this is fantasy. And you can see that on the foot of the bed is like a dead cat. I was trying to think of some more woodlandy creature, but let's go with a dead cat, because that's what it is, on the end of the bed. And you can see that it's dead. Like you can hear the flies, and you can see that it's dead because there's tufts of fur missing, there's bones exposed. It's just kind of laid out, and you can also hear the bzzz of flies. On the other end of the hall, Brillo, as you look into your room, you can see that your room's actually lit. There's a candle kind of back from the door, which is placed on the bedside next to the cot. And standing over the cot, looking into the bed, is a hooded individual, cloaked. And you can see that from beneath, you can't see their face because they're not faced towards you. You can see these 2 horns which rake upwards from beneath the hood and point towards the ceiling. You can see that this individual stands on crooked legs that kind of go forward and then jolt backwards like that of a deer or a ram or some other quadrupedal animal. You can see that they're standing upon these cloven padded hooves that sink slightly into the carpet, and one furry arm reaches from out of the coat and into the cot, and just, you can't see what's going on. You can see the baby. The baby's in there, maybe a toddler more accurately. It's speaking largely gibberish. It's just like the general sounds that it's making. You can see its legs kind of kicking just passively like a baby's legs does. They're kind of inside one of those slips that babies get put into, a baby bag. Sack. Yeah. And you can see its legs just kind of passively kicking. The baby doesn't seem to be in distress at all. And from the creature, you hear this like sort of sound as if it's speaking, but you cannot understand what it is saying. At this point, Eleanor, you reach the landing directly between the two individuals. You've got the kid going 59 as he seems to finish his counting. And what does Eleanor hear / witness of the reactions of the two of you simultaneously? Kallos, what's your reaction to seeing the dead cat on the foot of the bed?
Ugh, good lord.
Brillo, what's your reaction to seeing the monster in the room?
To be honest, I am trying to figure out how to steal money from this creature. Seeing how I can put one over on it. I am a gnome. I've seen some strange things out in the woods.
There is one thing I did forget to mention, which is important to what you just said, which is that this thing does have like a sack that kind of like sits on the ground next to it. The sack is loosely open, and the creature's not paying attention to it at the moment.
All right. Do I know that Eleanor is coming up the stairs behind me?
I was probably trying to be quiet, but Eleanor, I'm not like hiding in the shadows or anything.
I would say yes. Like you can, like if you just like, do a double take over your shoulder, maybe you're even looking for Kallos, when you do, but you see Eleanor reach the top of the stairs.
Okay, then what I want to do is I want to create an advantage.
Okay.
I want to distract this creature so I can somehow get its back to the door. So I'm going to sort of loop around and start talking to it, asking it what it's doing and can I get in on this action? How much is he making? That sort of thing. Just to oh, so you think you can do all this? Well, what about me? Where's my cut of this, huh? Where is it? And I'm going to loop around to the front to get his back to the door.
Okay. Make for me, I think.
So what I would like to do.
Go ahead.
I am trying to cleverly create an advantage, which happens to be my stunt because I'm an experienced confidence gnome. So I will use that stunt. Mm-hmm. The dice come out to a wash to 0. Mm-hmm. Clever is +2. I get a +2 when I cleverly try to create advantages when I'm in a one-on-one conversation. Mm-hmm. So that is what I'm doing for a +4.
Okay. You come into the room, circle around to get in front of this creature and stand in front of it. And as you enter the room and come around to the front of it, you're kind of like off at an angle, right? Because it's facing the cot and the cot's against the wall. So it's kind of like facing the wall. You've come in on its left-hand side. You're standing over maybe even by the window. The curtains are drawn on the window, but that's, as far over as you can get to get its focus not on the door. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, it looks at you. It kind of like looks up quite suddenly. You see its raked back horns, rake back further as its head goes towards you, and you can see that it stops speaking immediately and it's quite shocked. And as it looks at you, you can see this creature has a furry face. The face is, humanoid-esque, but kind of has that doe-like sort of nose. You can see that it's got doe-like eyes as well, like they're quite alien. But there's something that's like not off-putting about them. The face is fairly non-threatening, like surprisingly so. When you look at this thing, it doesn't look like the face of a monster, but looks like the face of some woodland being, if you will. Still has sharp teeth, And as it looks at you, it kind of hisses and grabs its bag of things and kind of like pulls it like close to itself as if it's hugging it for safety, steps back from the cot and draws its hands in. But as you enter the room as well, and this thing stands further away from the candlelight, you also note that it's not as big as it seemed. Where it was standing, its shadow seemed to cast this massive, presence over the baby. As it steps back from the candlelight, it's actually probably not even as tall as Kallos or Eleanor. It's maybe bigger than you are, but, somewhere between a halfling and a human, as it clutches its things and looks at you and doesn't say anything to begin with, actually. It just kind of like, you can see its eyes darting around as if it's looking for escape. I
try to make reassuring sounds and gestures just to calm it while other people approach.
Okay. The Kallos, Eleanor, you can definitely hear you can hear Brillo start to talk, and so realize something is going on down the other end of the hall.
I will twirl about, billowingly, and just shout, Brillo! And I will down the hallway.
I will sneakily approach the door. I want to sort of set myself up on the other side of the door so I can hear what's going on, but I'm out of sight.
Okay, make a sneaky approach for me, if you will.
I will do this thing. You ask. Okay, so that's a plus and a minus on the dice, which brings me to +3 for my total.
Okay, cool. And I am getting a... okay, cool. You approach up to the door, get to the other side of it as you hear like coming up from behind you, and Brillo from inside the room as you hear coming up from behind you. This creature hears that sound as well. You can see beneath its hood, its ears, which would poke out sideways, usually kind of like a held flat by the hood, but they do kind of like twitch. And then it's the weirdest thing, as this thing steps again to face the door more properly, and as it does, it's kind of like, like those images, there's a name for it that I don't know off the top of my head, but you look at it from one side and it shows like, an image, and you flip it to the other side and it looks like something else. That's kind of what happens here. It's like the creature changes, but it's not like a polymorph or anything like that. It's just like, you were looking at her from a different angle before, and now she's different. But it's odd because she changes from this doe-like creature and steps and is suddenly like this old woman, no teeth in her face, or in her mouth for that matter, beady eyes, old wrinkly nose, and she's holding a broom that you didn't notice before either. And as Kallos, presumably, and tell me if you want to stop short, Kallos, as you come thundering around into the room, and just outside of Eleanor, you kind of peek into the room, this old woman smiles and says, "Oh, dearies, I'm just the housekeeper looking after the baby. Where did you all come from? You shouldn't be in here. Shoo, shoo." And she kind of like sweeps her broom as if towards you. You can still see the pile of things abandoned behind her.
I'm just going to quickly whisper to Jonathan, "Do you have a housekeeper?" Hey, kid,
you look at
kid,
him. He just like shakes his head like without like he has to think about it for a second, and then he just like shakes his head.
I don't know whether Kallos is already in the room. If he can still see me, I'm going to shake my head no.
Go ahead, Kallos.
I am going to hold up a hand and in the other hold the orb before me between the woman and myself, and I say, "O powers that speak to me from worlds beyond, show unto me the true form of that which I see before me."
I love Kallos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good to have a wizard friend.
Yeah.
This is overcoming an obstacle to see through the illusion, or is this trying to create an advantage in terms of like learning a new aspect about the old woman in front of you?
That's a good question. Certainly my D&D attuned brain likes to think of this as overcoming an obstacle. Yeah, I think I'll save the advantage making until we have something more tangible here. Let's overcome the obstacle of this.
All right, no problem. What is this, a flashy skill? What do you think what are you using to cast this spell?
Hey, if you'll permit me to go flashy, I'll go flashy.
Sure, yeah, why not?
With much incanting and hand waving, I shall make this magic happen. All told, that's going to be a +2.
Okay, cool. Let me actually make a roll, as if for defense. That is that, and that. Okay, cool. As you finish your incantation, she looks to you and says, "Oh, you shouldn't be in here." She wails a lot. She's like, "Oh, you shouldn't be in here." And then like steps towards you as if to shoo you with her broom. But as she does, it's that same sort of illusion. It's like the image flips back and it turns back into that doe-like creature who's not holding anything at all. They just kind of like have their hands as if to hold a broom, and sees their own hand and like looks at the two of you standing in front of her and just like looks back and forth, frozen for a moment, as if in panic. Go
While
ahead.
she's distracted, I would like to try and create an advantage by like stretching some I don't know, some twine or something across the doorway, just quietly without her noticing. Just stretch some like string across there in a bid to potentially trip anyone who tries to run.
Okay.
I'd like to help her out by verbosely grandiloquating in front of this creature, by just sort of holding out hands and saying, "Now I see it plain, oh demon who appears before me, you cannot trick those who have the proper sight."
Okay, cool. Can I get Eleanor? I think. What do you think? Are you doing this sneakily, or are you doing this? Is this like
I'm trying to do this sneakily. I'm trying to do it just without being noticed.
Okay. Roll sneaky for me. I believe how like the help action to again translate from 5e works is that you get a +1 on the result.
Ooh, it's 2 minuses. So we're at a +1 right now.
Okay.
For my sneaky, and then we add 1, so it's +2. Is that what happens?
I believe that's how the help action.
All right,
To
+2.
use that. Okay, cool. All right, let me have a quick look here as I appraise. Okay, cool, not a problem. You sneakily set that up. I'm imagining you set it up on one side and then like low to the ground, you know, your torso kind of like, you know, flat to the ground, just kind of like spider step across the door frame.
like a turtle crawling across a beach. That's my approach.
To get to the other side of the door frame to set the string up there as you begin to set this trap. This creature looks from one to the other of you and then tries a different approach, little a, not big A. Bares her teeth. And you can see that this creature does have sharp teeth, and she says, "I am a most wicked and powerful fae. You should fall before me and flee." And she's going to try to flashily create an advantage. So I will roll for her. Ooh. She is... All right, so now I believe... How do I set a DC for my own character? This is interesting,
so
Sean.
If she is trying to do something to us,
Yep.
we can defend.
Yep.
If you are just trying to create a situation which doesn't affect us yet,
Yep.
then you can just set the numbers that she needs to reach, and if she makes it, great, and if she doesn't, great. You can also use a fate point that you have to just establish something.
All right. I think this
If
will
you
be. I actually think this will be a mental attack, because
Okay,
she's trying to intimidate the two of you that she can see. So can I get? So it would be defense. So it would be a defense action on Kallos and Brillo's behalf. And do you know what you roll if you're rolling defense for like something psychic? Is it forceful as well, or is it clever?
Well, we can figure out what is she trying to trick us? Then we might
Gotcha.
roll clever. Is she trying to our willpower might be careful or forceful. If we're jumping out of the way, it could be quick.
Okay. Let me say this. If you can tell me what your approach is, if you're trying to, because she looks like she's trying to intimidate you, is the general like gist. She's baring her teeth, she's frowning, she's trying to make herself look bigger than she really is. So if you want to, roll, I don't know what your approach would be for like brave, then you can choose an approach. How would you, outstand her attempt to intimidate you? Or you could roll, if you want to try and like insight and see through just how monstrous this creature is. Is she actually threatening or not? You could tell me a different approach. So you can do one of those two things. So Brillo, what would your approach be?
Having seen her change shape so many times, I would go with clever in the sense that I've seen her tricks. So I probably know what she's trying to do, and it isn't the real her.
Okay.
So I would try to defend myself cleverly.
Okay, cool. Roll clever for me.
With my wits.
What about?
Kallos.
Kallos.
As for me, I am going to, knowing something about myself as kind of this grand sorcerer, I am going to just kind of like forcefully thrust magic against whatever enchantment she is trying to do and just kind of try and muscle through the power.
Okay, roll forceful for me.
So I got for clever 0 on the die, so it's a +2 from clever. But since I am so cantankerous, I refuse to be intimidated by a simple fey creature, of which I am practically one myself. So I'm going to use my final fate point to add 2 to my 2 to get 4 total.
Okay, great. Kallos, how'd you go?
Blank blank plus plus and then 2 from forceful, so it will be a forceful resistance.
She steps forward. She says, her ears are kind of pressing against the hood, so the hood's expanding slightly. She's putting out her arms in front of her. She's actually like stepping backwards towards the candle as if to make like her shadow bigger on the wall. You can see her horns kind of, she's not tall enough for them to rake the ceiling or anything, but you can see the shape of like a devilish image get shadowed upon the wall. That's a descriptive word. And as she says, I am a powerful and frightful fey creature. You should be scared. There's like a beat of silence. And then her ears just go like flat against the side of her head. Her arms come down. And she looks like quite panicked suddenly. And she says, would you like a gift? And reaches into the bag and pulls out just like what looks like a clump of mud with worms crawling around inside of it. And you see this like smile come to her face instead.
Hey, listen, sister, we've all been here before. We've all been caught in the act. So here's what I suggest. We very carefully and quietly leave. And once we're out of here, we can discuss terms.
Let me know if this works. I'd like to create an aspect for this giver. Or like make an advantage. Okay, sorry. Sean, maybe you can help me out with here. Can I spend a fate point? You said earlier you can spend a fate point to just create an advantage. Or to create an aspect.
you create an aspect, right? As long as the group itself agrees that yes, that fits the story we're telling, then you can spend a fate point to create an aspect.
Okay. I'm going to talk about this then. I'm going to say, well, it seems we have a reluctant giver here before us. Giver, I believe that you have plagued the people of this town for far too long with your grotesque, stomach-churning, bile-inducing gifts that you draw from that wretched, pestiferous sack of yours. However, this is not the only way you could be. As it stands, there is a hefty reward for anyone who brings you in. That person could be you. And I'd like to create an aspect of greedy within the giver.
Interesting.
Okay. She sort of like thinks about it. You can see as you admonish her, she seems to get like smaller and smaller. And then when you kind of reverse the situation, as it were, you see her ears kind of like go sideways a little, like prick out a little bit. And she says, "But if I'm the bounty hunter, who's the giver?"
I just kind of look between everyone else here.
Wait, you're not the giver?
I am the giver. Well, actually, you can call me Bafana. And I just want to make friends, so I bring gifts. And she like reaches in and pulls out like half a skull out of her bag and then puts it back in and then reaches back in and pulls like what looks like a dead snake and says, I thought that people liked my gifts. I thought that they enjoyed them. But then I
Jonathan does.
She says, but if you're saying that people don't like my gifts, well, maybe we can be friends. I can play along. And like her little ears go out like a little bit further.
Oh.
I'm going to poke my head around the corner. And I'm going to be like, you mean to say that this is, you're just a natural. You're just a natural. This wasn't even like a prank. This is, you're breaking into everyone's houses. Leave no trace behind. No one knows who you are, and it's all just an accident.
Well, nobody seems to know who I am, even though I leave them gifts all the time, but nobody bothers to ask, I suppose. I mean, I just fly in as a moth or a gnat or a fly or something, and that's fly down the chimney. People aren't very friendly here. They lock all their doors and windows and don't let anyone in.
Into a moth or a gnat?
I can turn into anything. A spider?
Maybe you and I should be friends.
You hear at that point, there is a thump, like a on the door, on the front door downstairs, and then you can hear some like rough shouting from downstairs, and search the neighborhood, the clock's out, there's nothing on the clock, as there seems to be some individuals at the front door of this house, and they're thumping for the moment as if to be, heard, but you've seen them break into other people's homes searching for the giver.
It's Beef Hard Abs!
Oh no!
He still is outside, isn't he?
He is indeed, and now Beef Hard Abs is thumping at the front door.
People who didn't listen to last episode, they're not going to know what we're talking about.
People who did listen to last episode might not know what we're talking about.
This is true. I have a plan that may or may not work. May I borrow your sack of goodies?
She looks at it and kind of like draws it up to her and says, "But this has all my gifts in it that I give to all the good people of Landhaus."
Well, Brillo's a good person
We
of
can-
Landhaus.
I have not been given glyphs in years. I am glyphless.
Oh.
I look
Well.
sad. It doesn't take much, but I look sad.
In that case, and kind of like passes the bag over to you, steps into the center of the room, kind of, apprehensive still definitely, but a little bit, apprehensive in both the nervous sense of the word and the excited sense of the word.
Mm-hmm. All right. I look down the stairs. Is Big Good Sir anywhere coming toward us?
As you go back down the hall and look down the sloping stairway, the front door into the house is not far from the stairs. In fact, it's on the same wall where the stairs finish at the bottom. He's not inside the house yet, but you can hear that he is starting to thump harder and harder, and in fact starting to break and splinter some of the wood. He's clearly now past the point of knocking and to the point of breaking in.
All right. I run down the stairs quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and I pass the bag to him, and I say, "Here's the stuff we stole. Hold on to it for me."
Okay. What's your approach to convincing him to hold on to this?
Oh, definitely trying to be clever about it.
Okay, cool. Roll clever for me.
I am out of fate points, so what you see is what you get.
Woohoo!
+2, and then a +1 total on the dice for a +3.
Hell yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
You go downstairs, you pull the door open, and he's there with what looks like a hammer, like a mallet, like a wooden mallet. It looks like he's like found it on the street or something, trying to break open the door. And as the door gets yanked open, it kind of startles him for a moment. You hand him the bag, and he's too startled to he takes it, but he doesn't even seem to acknowledge that he's taken it. He's just like, You succeeded that, in fact, so well that you can also create a boost if you wish to.
Okay. I will create the boost of Big is startled.
Okay, cool. Not a problem. He's completely startled at this very moment.
All right. I'll say, "Wait here," and I will run back up the stairs. And
Okay.
tell everyone we have our patsy. All we have to do is tell the townsfolk that Big Good Sir was the giver all along. He's holding the bag. We can abscond with our new friend here, who can turn into practically anything. I think we have a long and fruitful friendship going. I don't know about you.
The hood falls off Bafana at this point, and her ears go straight out. And she kind of stands up to her full height for the first time. You can see that she's got kind of, a very like abnormally long neck with her face on the end of it. She almost looks like the creature out of Princess Mononoke. Her neck is so long as she stands up with her shoulders halfway down her body, and she just says, We're friends? I've made friends. I've got friends. Yes, where shall we go
Absolutely.
next, friends?
Follow me, friend.
Yes.
And I'm gonna
Watch
start heading
Watch
towards.
out for the rope.
Yeah, that's just careful where you step there. That's fine. I'll leave that for someone else to discover. If they happen to follow us, just wherever the nearest window is, I'm leading the way out that way.
I say, wait, before you go. And I, to you, O Phantom, hold out my orb and say, take this with you. If ever I have need of finding you again, I believe our paths are parting here now. Because I have no faith in the people of this town to turn so readily upon this big man. I think there is no other choice but for me to make sure that the arresting and, given the nature of this reward, ultimately killing blow falls heavily upon his neck.
I forgot that it was gonna be a death sentence. That's terrible. Oh no. Okay, but
Are we the baddies? Is that point?
Rule 1, no
but
witnesses.
Eleanor's probably
Rule
fine.
2, see Rule 1.
What about Timothy? Like, oh, sorry,
Cover your
Jonathan.
ears, child.
Jonathan, look away. I'm like, okay, that's pretty grim, but good luck, and hop out the window.
Yeah,
Come
cool.
on, Provider, come with me. I'll teach you the ways of heisting.
It is not a problem. As you get over to the window, you from the inside, you can unlatch it, lift the window, step out onto. Being on the second level, you like step out onto the roof, but it's on the far side from where the front door is, so you're kind of covered from the street. And when Bafana approaches, instead of turning into instead of like ducking their head and getting their horns through the window, because they would have to kind of like, you know, fold themselves in to get out the other side, they just effortlessly like leap onto your shoulder, and by time they're on your shoulder, they're a sparrow.
I love this. I love my new friend.
Brillo and Kallos, you end up not that long after in the town square with Big Good Sir Big McLarge Huge. On the stage, you have Argus Grinch, the town crier, there as well. You have the angry crowd reassembled with their pitchforks and torches. How do you proceed with this scene?
With my final fate point, I'd like to invoke my riled up crowd aspect.
Yeah, great, perfect.
And we do still have the aspect of Big Good Sir is confused or startled.
Yeah.
So we can always invoke that for free as well, if we need to.
Yeah, great. What do you do with the bag of things? Like, are you like pinning that on, like literally pinning it to him? Are you holding it and like showing it as evidence?
Yeah, what are you doing, Brillo?
Yeah, I'm saying he was the one that was putting the horrible things in your houses. He is a thief and a liar, and pretty large as well. Look at the bag he's holding.
Yes, I'll follow up with, yes, behold this foul sack of wretched items that will besmirch the kindliness of your homes. Fish guts, squirrel tails, half-eaten
He gave this
peppermint
to me,
sticks.
and I hold out the heart that I still have.
The crowd is very riled at the moment. They're like, get him! Kill the giver!
I've circled around to the back of the crowd, and I'm also shouting, yeah, and the Phantom's way better. just want to take advantage while they're in this mindset.
Roll. I think are you taking a flashy approach to this, Eleanor, or are you trying to like whisper it in people's ears?
No, I'm taking a flashy approach, absolutely, and I'm going to invoke a fate point for I have a reputation to uphold.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, I got 2 pluses on the dice, plus 2 for flashy, plus whatever for the fate point. Does that bring me to 6?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Woo! The only good roll of the night for me.
You not only do you succeed in convincing people that, you can create a boost if you want to as well. So put another aspect on the crowd or the situation.
Yeah, the boost is going to be the Phantom's quite cool, actually. So not only do people think the Phantom's the best cat burglar, but they think actually kind of like the Phantom.
The legend grows.
Yeah, the legend grows.
Mm-hmm.
And up on the stage, Brillo and Kallos, what is Mr. Big Sir, Good, Huge Sir's final fate?
I would say, my good people, there is a bounty on this man's head, and given that you are the ones who crowd-surfingly brought him to us, I believe it is only fitting that you share all in the spoils. Do with him as you see fit.
Okay. Argus Grinch goes over to the edge of the stage as you say that, And it takes a bit because Mr. Big Good Sir is very big and muscly, but he puts a foot on his back and just kind of like pushes him into the crowd. The crowd descend upon Mr. Good Bad Sir, Good Muscly Man. And as we slowly, like that end of a Christmas movie, pan out, snow over the screen, the credits start to roll. There's kind of like and you just hear underneath the screams of agony as a man is stabbed and ripped to pieces and torn apart and executed by a crowd for his crimes against them.
Remember when we all said that we've never played evil characters?
Well, we grimhollowed the hell out of this one, didn't we? Oh, there's actual tears in my eyes. Oh my god.
The real gift was the deaths we caused along the way.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for being part of our new little podcast, the Eldritch Lorecast. It's been a really, really fun year to launch this podcast in, and we'll be around next year. I think this is coming out on the 29th of December when this episode is dropping. So thank you so much. If you want to keep the conversation going, our Twitter handles are just below our names, or below our faces, actually. Our Twitter handles are below our faces with our names. So you can follow us there, or you can email podcast@ghostfiregaming.com if you want to ask us a question, talk about this crazy adventure, talk about your experiences playing Fate, or just anything in general to do with hobby and tabletop role-playing games. I've been Ben Byrne here, as ever, with James Hake, Dale Kingsmill, Sean Merwin. Thank you for joining us. And until next week, we will see you then.
Merry
Happy
Christmas,
New
you filthy
Year!
animals.
Happy holidays, everyone.